Uh, I don't know. All right. We're back live. Yeah, that was annoying. Welcome back. Welcome back, folks. Let some folks stream back in a bit. While I eat my dinner. Not like last time. Where, you know, get home, start talking about a D&D thing, and then completely forget to eat my food until it's nice and cold. At the end of the day, it's, you know, not the worst thing for me. Oh, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. Ooh. Oh, hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Where can I open this? Did a sort of treasure hunt. Went to a place called Lanes and Games Bowling. Oh, nice. Sounds like fun. Dairy Queen ice cream cake last. Well, it sounds fun. Sounds like you had a good time. Oh. Didn't even have the courtesy to let you win on your birthday. He's a good man. He shouldn't let you. If he let you win, it wouldn't be a challenge. Wow, shit. So happy. They remembered my mac and cheese bites. That's a good thing. I was so sad last time. I ordered mac and cheese bites and I didn't get them. All right. Gonna finish up these jalapeno poppers. Then we're gonna get into a little discussion tonight. And we'll kind of go over what prompted me to want to talk about this. All right. And that's fine. If you got questions, if you have other resources, and you want to jump in with those, please feel free. That's always the purpose of this, is to open up the floor to folks that want to come and chat about D&D and tabletop RPGs, be it D&D or Pathfinder or whatever. And we don't discriminate. Obviously, I run D&D, but I do play in a Pathfinder game. Fortunately, it's been on hiatus for a few weeks due to the holidays and some unavailability in schedules. But we're actually going to be getting back into that this coming week. Well, sorry. Not this coming week. This week. We're moving the day that we play Pathfinder from Tuesdays to Fridays. So... All right. So I think that's more than enough of me streaming, me stuffing my face. My chicken. Excuse me, my chicken can wait. So. As I kind of talked about a little bit last week and have brought up recently, I was hanging out over in the GM Philosopher Discord channel, and a couple folks were talking about the new contest that's going on over there. I guess I could actually talk about mine. I didn't even think about that. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail with it, but I'll maybe once I guess that contest is resolved, I'll go over mine in greater detail. Where is it? Oh, I can just pull up the website. What the hell am I doing? GM Binder. Yeah, so a faction, so the contest over at the GM Philosopher Discord right now is to create a faction of some kind that could be introduced into your game or could be introduced into another GM's game, and to make it at least robust enough that you know, the GM isn't having to do all the legwork. And I've had this like idea of this faction that you can see here, the Delvers, kind of in my mind for a while. Never really had a ton of opportunities to utilize them, and wanted to get some things down on pen and paper, and I saw this as a perfect opportunity. So again, no, I'm not going to go over this whole thing, but in essence, the Delvers are a guild or a faction, a lot of dwarves in it, but they catalog and kind of keep the knowledge and history of different crypts, dungeons, keeps, you know, any place where there might be, you know, monsters, treasures, and traps. And that's kind of their whole shtick. Putting them into the game was actually a means to an end for me, where I had this idea of, if a player came to me and said like, hey, I want this magic item. Like, I saw this magic item online, or I saw it in a book, and I think it's really cool. I think it'd be really fun for my player. What do you think? And, you know, obviously I'd have to look at it and, you know, kind of resolve it myself. And if I thought it was appropriate enough that it wasn't like too overpowered or anything like that, I'm like, okay, well, sure, you know. And in a lot of cases, it would just be like, okay, I'll try and keep that in mind when we do like another dungeon. I'll try and remember to put it in there. But one of the problems with my way of running games is I oftentimes run modules. Modules usually have their own magic items like populated around. So I would usually forget. And on top of that, I'd also just like completely forget about it 5 minutes later. Well, the idea of the Delvers was kind of a way to make it an in-world process in a way. Essentially, you would go to the Delvers and you would say, hey, I'm looking for an item that can, you know, if you went to them and you said like, hey, I'm a fire-based wizard and I'm looking for a new staff that is aligned to my school of magic. I've heard of staffs of fire. Have you ever heard of them? Do you know where there is one located? The Delvers would then look through their catalogs and chronicles, and eventually they would, you know, come across one. And for example, let's pull up Staff of Fire. I want to say it's rare. The fuck is, oh, Staff of Violet Fire. Where's that from? Oh, it's from Deep Magic. Okay, I got confused. Okay, yeah, so Staff of Fire is very rare. So you would go to the Delvers and you'd be basically like, hey, I'm looking for this. And the Delvers would say, okay, well, hey, that's very rare. There's not a lot of those around. So we do know the location of one, but it's going to cost you. And so, as you can see here on this this chart, you know, a magic item location, a very rare rarity, is between 2,500 and 10,000 gold. Now, I do want to express magic item prices. This is kind of in line with current magic item pricing. I don't know why this takes so long anymore. But as you may be able to see there, oh, I gotta zoom in. Yeah, so like a common item or an uncommon item is between 1 and 600 gold, Rare is between, 2,000 and 20,000. Very rare is between 20,000 and I guess 50,000. And then legendary is between 50,000 and 200,000. If I did that math right. 12 times 2,500. $300,000. There, 300,000. So these prices are obviously, cheap in comparison. Essentially, you're buying the information, then you have to go and do the work. So that's why they are kind of priced the way they are. But that was like their whole thing. So again, I wanted to kind of flesh them out. You can do a little bit of work for the Delvers. If you are a cartographer, or if you like to map out dungeons as, you're going through one, or kind of like keep track of where stuff like that is, out of game, you can do that, and you can kind of translate that to in game, where if your character is, using I think, yeah, cartographer's tool. I was like, yeah, 100%. So like, as long as you have cartographer's tools and you are actively using them to map out a dungeon, and I would make you roll, some kind of, survival or performance or perception or investigation or something like that. Maybe just even like a basic wisdom check associated with it. Then this way you could sell it to them and be like, hey, we went to the crypt of 1,000 screaming monkeys and we mapped it out, here it is. And they'd be like, oh, this is great. We've never had anyone map that place out. So here's, 300 gold for your time and troubles. If you find a magic item there and you identify it and want to turn it into them, they will buy that stuff. They can also request things like that. Or if they have like a known artifact that they're wanting you to hunt down. And then there's also the services that you can buy from them. Like if you want to buy a general dungeon map, like if you're going somewhere, if you and your adventurers were going to the dungeon of 1,000 screaming monkeys, then you could say, hey, we're going here. We don't know anything about it. We would like to buy, see if you have any maps on it. And I would roll maybe a D100 to determine whether or not they have that specific one. And if they do, they're like, okay, well, here, 250 gold. We have a generic blueprint of it. And what that would be is you could then take whatever map you might have, for example, let's, not fantasy town generator. Here we go. One-page dungeon. So, for example, okay, the halls of Therai, you could then just like provide your players with a blank map like this. They're not going to get any traps. They're not going to get any details about what's in it or anything like that. But you could just say like, okay, here's the layout. And they could say like, oh, there's a throne room at the end. Like we have to go there. And, if they're trying to avoid places they don't have to go, if they're entering into this, main entryway here, they're going to be like, okay, we need to get to this throne in this, far right corner. Let's go through this big room. We'll go up to the right. We'll take the hallway up to here, and then we'll get in there, and we can avoid the rest. So it kind of makes things a little bit faster for them if they would want to avoid some parts of a dungeon, but you could also pay to get a detailed one, which would include possible trap locations, or I wouldn't necessarily say give them exact trap locations, but just like, this hallway has poison darts in some spots on the walls, or this hallway has spike traps and things like that, or like, oh, there's quasits that like to sleep in this room. Then this way they have some of that information. But yeah, talked a little bit about, how you can add them in, what these places might look like in your towns or cities, different NPCs that might be at these locations, such as a guild master, a chronicler, cartographer, artifact appraiser, vault keeper, and different field agents and scouts. And each one can kind of have a little bit of something that they do. I made this map on Midjourney and added some of my own details, Delver approved stamp, and then came up with just a couple, example key figures, like a chronicler, like the leader of the deep vault. She's the one who kind of has a final say on what's going on. You got a cartographer, a vault keeper, and a scout. Bulgrim Three Fingers Thorn. I may wonder what sort of person's able to go into those dangerous places, get around well enough to make a map, and get out without getting caught and not taking any loot. So that's the thing. If you kind of think about it, the life of a Delver field agent would be somebody who is like a ranger or a rogue, in a lot of cases. Somebody who's going to be stealthy, somebody who's going to be able to kind of get in and out of those places. But the thing is that going in with the intention of scouting out and not taking any loot is just kind of how they function. Like, the thing is that there are plenty of times where an adventurer might go into a dangerous location like a dungeon or a crypt and not return. And so after so many days, they might send a scout or a field agent in there to try and recover them, and that's just going to be why they're there. They're just trying to get somebody out of there, or their whole job is to go in and not necessarily take anything out of there. Because a factor you have to consider is that loot that is in a dungeon might be, it might be a chest sitting in the middle of a room. That could be a mimic. They don't want to fuck with a mimic. Gold could be trapped. There could be a trap specifically with it. So in a lot of cases, they do hire rangers and rogues, and I would even say maybe bards, like your expert class characters, people with high skill proficiencies, just because that's going to be something that it's money. It is a lot of money to be made because you're an information broker. So, or on top of that, having invisibility. If you have, potions of invisibility, or if you're a wizard and can cast that, again, it's just about making that skrill. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go over it so fully tonight. We'll talk about it at another time, but, yeah, that was something that kind of spurred on a little bit of this conversation over in the GM Philosopher's channel, where some folks, after talking about that, there's a little bit more conversation that was going on, and someone said something about a DM screen, and yeah, here it was. They were asking about the program that I used for GM Binder to make my documents, and we were talking about different things, and I had mentioned how somebody had mentioned that they use Obsidian, which is definitely a program I'm trying to get better at and use more. but it's a lot of data transfer for what I want to use it for. But I, somebody named Akira mentioned that they said they don't use a DM screen. It's just all on their laptop now. And another guy said, yeah, my DM screen is just my laptop. And I commented with this picture. Whoa, what is going on? Why is this? Wait, why is that messed up? Huh. Wonder if my other ones are messed up. Oh shit, I just opened up a lot of windows. Huh. Well. My cookies must have cleared or something like that. 'Cause, yeah, this should not look like this. Huh. Also, I don't know why that looks so big. Up at the top. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, hey, well, this kind of works out because I'm going to be able to show you guys how to set this up and, you know, how I kind of set it up. But yeah, so I was talking, I posted a picture of the digital DM screen. What I guess just made, they had a digital so that's the thing. I mean, when you, the thing is that a DM screen, when, if you think about like pen and paper, you know, DM screen, like what it was originally designed for back with pen and paper, there was two aspects to it. The first was to create a clear divide between the players and the dungeon master. Back in earlier editions, there was a bit more of like an adversarial, combative, kind of like antagonistic relationship between the DM and the players. And that has changed over the years and through different editions of the game. With nowadays, the role of the GM is less of like an antagonistic force, but is more of a rules adjudicator and a kind of like just a narrator in a way. And yes, obviously, as DMs and GMs, our role is to put challenges and obstacles and encounters in front of the players to make the journey worth it and entertaining and exciting and fun. So there is a bit of antagonism in a way, there is a bit of a combative, but nowadays it is not viewed as much of like the DM versus the players. It is the DMs and the players simply telling a story with one another. So that aspect of there being something as a physical divide was a big part of a DM screen. But the second kind of part to it, and arguably the more important thing, is it was a place that it was, because it created a divide, you could keep things behind it that you didn't want your players to see. You could keep a monster mini, you could have your dice back there, you could have your notes, and it was kind of a sacred thing of you didn't look behind the screen. And that's also where you could keep reference materials, you could keep your books. So it was a way that you could have some easy to find information. And that's very similar to how, for example, 5e.tools has a fairly robust DM screen that I personally use. Now, I'm obviously literally running its own website inside of it. Like, my DM screen is simply just 5e.tools in here. But I do have some things over here. This is a quick reference site that I've used for quite a while. I actually haven't used it super recently, up until, well, let me rephrase that. I didn't use it for a while, but I'm using it more and more recently. On the right hand side here, if you are curious, this is the website. It's kroby.github.io, and it's a D&D quick reference. Now, I will state, this is based on 2014's information. So if you go in here, you'll see it's like the original player's handbook stuff. Obviously, some things have changed. For example, a grapple is a little bit different now, but there is some stuff that they are editing and changing to align with some of the new stuff. Oh yeah, so actually grapple is a bad example. So exhaustion still has the old system where, you know, it's 1 to 6 levels and it has different effects on each one, but arguably grapple is no longer grapple is more of a special melee attack that if you hit a creature, you can grapple them. It doesn't actually do the strength or athletics or acrobatics contest anymore. So they are updating it here and there, but it is for the most part still 2014 rules. But a lot of that still applies because, I mean, a lot of that didn't change. So I keep that off to the side. I also have a page from friend of the channel, Ryan of the Verdigris table. He had a really nice kind of DM screen pages that he put out not too long ago that I picked up. And this is the last page from that because I always forget travel pace and concentration. So also it's good to know the different jumps. And honestly, the only other thing that I keep in here is expenses. You know, when players want to know how much a meal is at an inn or something, or they want to know how much a drink is, it's easy enough to pull this up, or if they're looking for travel. So, but yeah, 5e.tools, I've talked about it for years. It's a great reference resource site. They've definitely had, they kind of have their like hushed mum moments. There's some people that don't like the website because, as transparent and blatantly upfront about this as possible, while they list at the bottom of their site that it is intended as an easily accessible digital reference for products you already own, there's nothing stopping you from just accessing this site and seeing whatever they put on here. And that would happen to be a lot of the new materials. Now, I have for a long time been a proponent of pirating. I am not shy about that. I have pirated video games, music, movies. I was a child of the 2000s. So that was what I grew up in because, you know, you didn't have money and hey, the internet was there. And when I started first playing D&D, I went online and searched up, you know, D&D Player's Handbook 5e PDF free so I could get a digital version of it because I bought the physical one, but I wanted a digital version. And there wasn't really great online resources at that time. So again, you know, use it at your own risk, use it at your own comfort levels. That being said, just as a reference, This website is hosted by an entity that's location is on the moon. Therefore, they are not held to or privy to earthly copyright laws. But, you know, it is what it is. So this is my main DM screen, and this has been what I've been using for years. I've been using 5e.tools for years. I think it's a great website, and its digital DM screen is perfect, in my opinion. Now, something more recently that I have started to use was this extension for Chrome, the D&D Beyond DM screen. And I guess before I even continued, I'd be remiss to say, as I'm talking about different resources and, you know, different platforms to make running games easier and more simple, I have to include D&D Beyond in that. At the end of the day, even if 5e.tools isn't there, D&D Beyond is still hands down the absolute best online D&D tool. It as we all know, it has a character sheet manager, it has a campaign managers, you can make encounters in it, you can add homebrew and search other people's homebrew, it has dice rollers, you can search up any information from any one of the available books, nowadays even including third-party materials, such as the Griffin Saddlebag, the Illrigger, Layers of Theris, Tales from the Shadows, and so on and so on and so on. Now, arguably, it does have a subscription cost. There's plenty of people out there that don't like D&D Beyond because a lot of stuff, you know, beyond just very simple things are kind of locked behind gate and key. But at least for me, it's never been something it's never been anything that I haven't been willing to do. As you can see, it's about $5 a month for the master tier and only about $2 a month for the hero tier. Now, keep in mind that is if you pay yearly, not monthly. I think it is a little more if you pay monthly, but it has its benefits. You know, you can get access to unlimited characters, you get monthly perks, you can use the homebrew content you made in your games, and when you have the master tier, you can also share the stuff that you purchase with other people. Now, they also have the maps as well. So again, like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't reference D&D Beyond just in its own core as one of the best online D&D tools for DMs and honestly players, you know, even more probably. So, but in conjunction with that, this particular Chrome extension adds on a feature to that I think, in my opinion, has become invaluable for what I am doing. Again, the extension is called D&D Beyond DM Screen. They actually just updated this not even a week ago. It was like 4 days ago, literally the day I was running one of my games, they updated it. And the updates are great. So this, once you download it, you go to your campaigns on D&D Beyond, and we'll pull up the New Age Into the Veil. And up in the top right, you will see where you normally have your campaigns, create a campaign, edit campaign, create an encounter. There's now a button for the DM screen. So we'll click that, and you'll see that it loads up with that first page there. And now we have this. Now, previously, this used to open in its own window that could not be tabbed. I actually had to go through and figure out what the website was that it was pulling from to like actually tab it. And now it just opens up in its own tab. You don't have to worry about that. But the cool thing about this is that when it opens up, you can click your player's name and it will open up their character sheet. Now, I will state that this does not have dynamic reload. And what I mean by that is, so for right now, we are on Aerith Nyx. This is our buddy Coda's character in the New Age campaign. If I were to deal, say, 15 damage to him right now, so obviously on his own character sheet, it will reflect 15 hit points. Up here on the top, where it says hit points, it will not reflect this until I hit this reload button off to the side, at which point it will reflect that new one. So unfortunately, there are some other like third-party digital GM screens that can do dynamic reloading. Unfortunately, this does not have that. So just keep that in mind. You do kind of have to manually reload your characters as they play along. But one of the cool things about this at the top is you can see right now we have name, race and class, hit points, armor class, perception, insight, investigation, stealth, and senses. Now, on a base level, those are not bad things to know about your players at any given moment, okay? But I don't need to know what their race and class is. I know Aerith Nyx is a sorceress, okay? I know she's an Air Ganassi. I know for a fact that Arendor is an elf barbarian. I know Largil is a drow fighter. I know Baruza Loxodon druid. I know Codex is a warforged Illrigger. And I know Rafkus is a drow rogue. I know those things. I helped them make their characters. I don't need to see that information there when I'm running the game. Hit points is something I do like to know. I kind of always want to have at least a general sense of what it, what degree of hit points the players have. As well as armor class. Armor class is important as a DM because knowing your player's armor class at the drop of a hat is rather important. You want to be able to move combat along quickly. And if you're constantly having to ask, like, hey, what's your hit points? You know, not your hit points, but what's your armor class? What's your armor class? What's your armor class? That gets to be a little much after a while. And this luckily pulls that information for you. Now, I am a big proponent of knowing what players' passive perception is. I use passive perception in my games where if players are not actively involved in some other task or activity, they can use their passive perception as a default when searching for stuff. And have also played with the rule of you can't roll below your passive, even though that's not like an official rule. But I don't really care about passive insight, and nor do I really care about passive investigation either. Now, stealth is also one of those things that I don't really care about. My players, if they are going to do stealth, they're actively going to tell me that they are doing that. And senses, I do like to know senses because I like to know when players have dark vision or true sight or something like that. Now, on this setup right now, there are things that I would rather have. I would rather know, the general ability scores and saving throws of all the players. That is an important one for me. I would also like to know their speeds. That is kind of important to me because if I'm trying to figure out their movements, or if they are moving their token, I kind of want to know what their maximum is. So we can change all this. And how we do that is very simple. So when you download this extension, you open this up, there is not the gear. There is a way on Chrome. I can't show it, or I can here. There we go. There it is. So up in the upper right-hand corner, you have this little puzzle piece, and that's where your extensions are. And if you click that, you'll get a drop down. I know you can't see it on the stream here, but you can pin extensions so that they are accessible. So for example, I have Eno Reader, which I need to sign back into, which is like my RSS reader. I have an NPC generator, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Then, what's going on? I also have a dark mode. I have a dark mode extension. And then there is the D&D Beyond DM screen. So if you right click this, you can actually, there's a button on there that will take you to this page. But if you left click it, it will, as long as you have a character sheet up, will bring up this dialog box. And in here is where you can set everything up. So again, I'm going to zoom in just so we can see things a little bit easier. So it does go in order. So obviously I want their names. I want to know what their names are, but I do not care about their race or class. So I'm going to just hit the trash can on that and hit OK. And as you can see, that removes that from that section. I want their hit points and I want their armor class. But after that, I would rather have their ability scores. Now, I like how D&D Beyond formats, you know, ability scores, strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. So we're going to go with that. So right here, we'll hit this drop down. And I know you guys can't see it, but on the drop down, it gives you a bunch of different options. You know what? I wonder if there's a way. I wonder if there's a way that I can do this. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. Display capture. Do I have a display capture in here? No. Okay. Let me add a display capture real quick and see if this resolves it. Okay, weird. Primary monitor. Okay. It's gonna be a lot of the same stuff. So you're just gonna see the shit at the bottom of my screen. But if I click, okay, good. All right, good. So, I'm gonna zoom in here just so you guys can see what I'm seeing, and then you know we'll address it. We'll just kind of move on from there. So in the drop down, you can see we have a bunch of different things. We got name, race, class, hit points, armor class, senses, initiative, ability scores, saving throws, skills, and then it lists all the different skills that are available. And then we have ability scores top and ability scores bottom. Now, what that is referring to is when you go to a character sheet, this is the top. The top is the modifier. The bottom is the score. I personally believe that D&D needs to get the hell away from using ability scores and just use modifiers. That's the way Pathfinder does it, and I find it far more simple. I understand that they like having a bit of like versatility where, oh, if you have, you know, two odd ability scores and you get like you're leveling up, you get an ASI and you can bump up 2 scores at once. But the problem is just in a lot of ways, those kind of get pushed to the side. And if you want to improve them, it kind of makes it a little clunky. So my thing is I always use the top just because that is the modifier and that's what I want to know. And then we have the saving throws as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this as strength. And, or wait, hold on. How did I do that before? I definitely don't want full ability score. How did, oh, you know what? I think I did it manually. Yeah, you know what? I think I did it manually. Okay, so we're going to do these manually. All right. What's up? What's up, Jay? All right, so I want to say that I did these manually, so we're probably going to have to do these manually. All right, but that's not a big deal, because honestly, this is not a hard system to figure out. If you do end up, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. If you do end up using this extension, I put that in the chat up there. There is a website right here on it. This will take you to a site that will walk you through everything, how to do it, how to edit the stuff. It literally walks you through all the stuff that I just talked about. So one of the cool things about this, and I was going to get to it whenever we got a little bit further along, but I guess I kind of have to address it now. If what you're looking for is not in this drop down, okay, if you want a very specific piece of information from a player's character sheet for whatever reason, there is a manual button at the bottom. And it's very easy to figure this out. So what we're going to do is when you change this to manual, you're going to see this big long string of letters. What we're going to do is we're just going to erase all of that. We need 6 of these to be empty to do what we want to do. So that's how many? That's 5. This will be 5 and 6. Not too bad, body. How you doing tonight? All right. And these last ones we're gonna do. Right now, this very last one is perception, because I do want players' perceptions. I'm going to do this one as senses, and we're going to do the very last one as speeds. But yeah, speed, I don't believe is a thing, so that's going to have to be manual as well. Things are going good. Things are going good, A-Body. We are setting up. This is a digital DM screen on D&D Beyond. I went to kind of show it off today, and the whole thing, I guess my cookies reset or something like that. But for some reason, it lost like my whole setup. So I'm going back into it today. It could have also been D&D Beyond. Keep in mind, this is an extension based on D&D Beyond. So if anything ever updates on Beyond, there's a likelihood that this could get changed. So, as I mentioned before, we're gonna do names of the characters. We're gonna do hit points. We're gonna do armor class. Then we're gonna do the 6 core ability scores, and then we have perception, senses, and we're gonna do speed. So to do this, we switched them to manual. We got rid of the value. Now, off to the right. Go. I know I got 2 windows, but it's because of the drop downs. Now, off to the right, there is this little button that looks like a target. So we're going to keep that in mind here. We're going to go up here. We're going to change this from ability scores to strength. And then we're going to hit this target. Now, this target is going to let you start selecting stuff in a character sheet. And what we want is we want this top block. You said there was a website that taught this. Yes, if you go to the link for the extension, it's literally right here. You go to this, or you could just go to this website, the one that says GM screen. That walks you through everything that I am going over here. It explains how to do all of that. So what I want is I want not only this strength score, but I also want the saving throw as well. Okay. So all I got to do is put my mouse over this. You can see that it highlights it in red, and there are different things that you can highlight. We're going to be getting into that in a minute anyway. So we're going to click this. And you can see that that's going to update it for all of the characters because it's all linked there. It's just going to make it all for all of them. And now we have this string of text. So what I'm going to do is at the end of that string of text, I'm going to add a space, create a slash, and then add another space. And we're going to go back in and we're going to target the saving throw. Now, obviously for Aerith here, who is a sorcerer, that means that it's just -1, -1. They don't have a great strength. But for example, Arendor, who is a barbarian, here we go. We can jump over to his character sheet, and you can see right there, he has a +3 and a +5, and that is reflected right up top there. So now we're going to scroll down. We're going to do the same thing for all the other ability scores. So dexterity, we got constitution, we got intelligence, wisdom. Oh my god, I can't type tonight. And charisma. All right, so dexterity, we want that box with a space, and we want that box. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say there is a way to just copy and paste this, and it would kind of manually do everything for you. Like, I think you could figure out the code easy enough, but we're just going to keep clicking and doing what we got to do in order to set this up. Now, like I said, you don't, I want to say you don't have to set this up every time. And honestly, this is only the second time that I've ever had to set this up, other than the first time that I was messing with it. I guess something, I know for a fact that D&D Beyond went down yesterday. I wasn't even, or this morning, wasn't even able to access the website. I felt really bad for a bunch of people online as I was checking the down status on it, and so many people are like, well, we were just about to start our session. Guess we're not playing. I felt terrible for them. All right, so that gets us 90% of what we need. Last one we're going to do is speed. We're going to go to here. We're going to grab this number, and then we're just going to hit space. Or not even put space. We're just going to hit FT after that just to make it appropriately parsed over here. Now, again, the thing is you can add as many of these as this thing holds, or as big as your screen is. And it really just depends on what you as a DM want out of this. If, for example, you want to know your player's initiative modifier, you could have that. If you wanted to know, their proficiencies, if you wanted to know if your players were proficient with some, with their tools or something like that. I mean, you don't want to go so crazy that you have like everything, but you could even do conditions. Like if you wanted to check and see what if your players have exhaustion, you could do that. I mean, I don't necessarily know why you would want to do exhaustion, or all the conditions, but if we go into here and we click deafened, again, it's not automatically going to update. It doesn't have dynamic reload, but if we reload that, yeah, so it's always going to pull the first one if we do it that way. But if we go back into here and change that from that to just the whole conditions window, now you can see deafened exhaustion. And again, that's just if you want to know that stuff. So it really depends on what you as a DM want from this screen. You can customize it as much as you want. Honestly, something that might not be the worst thing to have would be this window right here for defenses. That doesn't change that often for your players. So you could actually click this and see right there, for example, that Baru or Codex. So Codex is resistance to poison and immune to disease and magical sleep. And Arendor, because of his rage, resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. Now, there's probably better ways to represent this on here. Honestly, this is the first time that I ever messed with that particular one. But again, you could get it to be as picky or as, you know, easy as you wanted it to be. So for example, you since things kind of get lumped together in here under resistances and poisons, you could actually have it pull this symbol, and then after that do this. Oh, actually, that's perfect. So right there, we now know. And then what we'll do next is we could add, so we could actually add another one. We can hit comma and then space. And this way, if anybody has anything further down, space and that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not too worried about that, honestly. Like, resistances aren't really, you know, too crazy to worry about. I mean, it's not a bad thing to consider. I wonder if I can actually get that. All right, we're gonna X on that. We're gonna grab this symbol. We're gonna put 2 dots, space that. Okay, the 2 dots are gonna get annoying. Oh, you know what we could just do? We could actually just add another one. We could do resistances and immunities. And then we can actually just get rid of name. You grab me my other water.
Yeah.
Thank you. And here, go manual. Snag that image. Thank you. Thank you so much. Why is it? There it is. There it is. Okay, good. We got it. We got it. I was wondering why that wasn't registering correctly. And grab that whole bar. Cool. Now, I wonder, can I copy this, hit comma and paste, and erase that? Oh, cool. Okay, you know what? Honestly, I ain't too upset about that. I legitimately might just keep that. Yeah, I honestly might just keep that. Because that doesn't, I mean, I like, Aerith and Baru don't have any resistances, but it is kind of nice to know that Codex resists poison. You know, Largil and Rafkus are drow, and Arendor is also an elf, so they're immune to magical sleep, but it's kind of nice to know this. Now, the thing is that in the new 2024 thing, when you go into a rage, you actually can click under features and traits, and you can change this to activate rage and turn it off for barbarians, and it actually changes the number in here. So right now, Smith just lost that resistance to mundane damage, so that'll truncate. I never thought about having that there before, but come to think of it, that's actually a really nice one. So kind of glad that I had this opportunity. Now again, would you find it easy to change on the fly during a game? As in it wouldn't interrupt. So here's the thing. I don't actually think you would want to change this stuff on the fly, just because this is more of like a set it and forget it kind of thing. You know, I mean, we are, like we are really Ronco, you know, kitchen this setup. You should take the time to, I thought of it when you were talking about conditions. Yeah. So, like I said, this is definitely something that you would want to, you would just want to kind of set it and forget it. Spend a little bit of time figuring out what specifically you want, and, you know, set it up before the session, set it up, you know, well beforehand, so that this way you have it when the time comes. So maybe during a time when maybe a player had, maybe a few players had conditions. So if you, and this is kind of where it is really just up to you. If you want to know if you really want to know at a super quick glance, if a player has a condition effect on them, then you can definitely throw that up there. I probably won't, and the reason why I won't is because, as I mentioned before, this does not have a dynamic reload. So conditions change regularly. Now, arguably, as somebody who has introduced a, you know, new exhaustion mechanic into one of my games, it probably would not hurt for me to do something like this and to pull data from this, you know, this box in here. Okay. It probably would not be bad for me to do that. Now, the problem with that is that it's how can I put this? It's not going to be pretty. Okay. So it's gonna pull if it's there. But again, if we add, like, you know, other conditions, it's not going to update it. You're going to have to go in and manually update every single one of these pages as they're going along. Now, it's not impossible to do that, and most players are never going to have more than like 1 or 2 conditions on them at any one time. Now, honestly, for me, because I'm using a homebrew exhaustion system, it probably wouldn't be the worst for me to have that on there, because I do regularly forget that some of my players have exhaustion. So having that up there probably wouldn't hurt me. But again, it just kind of depends on what you as a DM feel is important, because the key thing to remember about this, okay, specifically that panel up there, is that it's just there for quick reference. Okay. This is one of the campaigns that I run. So that is information that I want all the time, for every one of my players, okay? But if I go over to, say, the Phandalin 5, okay? I can bring that up. And truth be told, I don't give a shit about what your conditions are at the moment. For some reason, Cephas is charmed, which doesn't make sense. So, you know, we could turn that off and not have to worry about that. But the thing is like, I don't, if I want to double check your conditions, I can just as easily click to each one of your pages. I mean, that is the whole design of this extension, is a simple way to go in and not only have the panel at the top for quick reference stuff, as a GM screen or a DM screen would normally hold, but it also just gives you access to the character sheet. Seeing how easy to change things compared to so, and again, that's kind of the thing, is when you're running a game, you're not really changing the stuff on your DM screen on the fly. Like, it's not really the purpose of a DM screen, is to constantly be changing things or to be, you know, like always editing that stuff. A DM screen should be a quick reference for the handful of things that you either don't want to have to remember or that you can't remember. That kind of brings me back to this, okay? I use 5e.tools. I guess I had in my head DM. No, so, I mean, let's just be real here. Like, looking at the official DM screen, if they even have a picture of it. I don't even know if they have a picture of the inside of the official one. But I mean, just Googling DM screen, you can see there's kind of almost like permanent information on there. You know, it's not stuff that you're gonna be changing that often. It's gonna be things, maybe not, yeah, but see, that's the thing. It's, you might have note cards, okay? So I think what you might be thinking of is having a stack of sticky notes around, because when I'm running D&D online, I keep a pad of sticky notes next to me. And if one of the players is like, you know, like, I was like, oh, we went into this room and we killed a gorilla that had a, you know, red and yellow tie on its neck, and I want that tie now. And, you know, it's like, okay, cool. And they're like, does it do anything? And I'm like, sure, it gives you the strength of a gorilla. So it's like, all right, cool. I'm going to write a note for myself and write down, you know, like, make Donkey Kong tie magic item, strength of gorilla. And I'll just put that on the bottom of my monitor. You know, or sometimes what I'll do is, I'll just open up my, oh, Jesus Christ. I'll open up, you know, my notepad. And a lot of times what I'll do is, you know, if there's something like, for example, when I was running the New Age campaign, okay? Here was all the treasure in the room that, you know, the players were exploring. So I had, when I run D&D, I normally have one window this big, and I will have, I'll normally have my, my whatchamacallit up here, my cameras. So we obviously stream on Discord. So I'll have my cameras up here so that this way when I'm looking at the camera, I can see the players. And I'll keep this in the corner for notes. Like, this is where I was able to pull up information about, you know, Zariska, and information about like all the NPCs that were in that Castle Rivenroar. And you can see I have, you know, hundreds of notes that I use all the time. I would recommend doing something like that rather than relying on a dynamic GM screen that you're changing. Again, a DM or GM screen should be something that you set it to what information you need, that you feel like you're going to need on a regular basis, that you don't want to have to go in and constantly hunt down. I mean, and sure, you might eventually come to find that, like, you don't need to worry so much about conditions, okay? And you can just get rid of that. You know, or you might not care about speed, okay? You might add speed to the top of your list, and then eventually you're just like, not really, I'm not tracking their speed enough, or I don't need to know their hit points. Like, you know, it's always going to be personal to each DM. And in a sense, that's how I look at this more, okay? At the end of the day, to me, this is more of a GM screen than this. This is a really nice way to monitor my players. 100%, absolutely love this. I love having this information. But this is not the end-all be-all. Now, what is the end-all be-all is the fact that when they updated this literally Saturday, days ago, just 4 days ago, they added these options at the top of the screen, okay? And that was a game changer. And the reason for that is because now, not only can you pull up your players' character sheets and be able to reference them on the fly as you go along, these tabs at the top where you see conditions, random encounter generator, and name generator, you can just put in links for stuff. So for example, I can put here 5e.tools and put in the URL as my custom DM screen, this particular one. And when I go to my next one, so now what I do is when I click this, it opens up my DM screen. So it's opening up 5e.tools DM screen inside of this program so that I don't have to have it in another tab. So that if I want to reference 5e.tools, I now have still access to my players and I can still click back and go, you know, back and forth. Now, I will say it does run on its own cookie system. So, for example, if I go up here to, like, my homebrew manager, for example, I have a ton of homebrews in here that I've, you know, that I've taken them over the years. I don't have that all in here. I grabbed the most important ones to me, which is Heyman's Harvesting Handbook. But in here now, I can, you know, if any one of my players is like, you know, hey, what does Vex do again? I can just very quickly go, oh, you know, it's if you hit a creature and deal damage, you have advantage. This is more what I think you are thinking about, okay? This is the dynamic character sheet. And this is where people, like the people over in the GM Philosopher Discord, were talking about their laptop just being their DM screen. Because nowadays, you can just Google things super quickly. And that makes life so freaking easy. So this is usually, like, when I would run any one of my games, I would normally have all the character sheets open in tabs at the top of the screen, and then I would have this. And let's just say I was running, you know, an actual, you know, adventure. Let's just say I'm running Dragon of Icespire Peak and we're doing the Dwarven Excavation. Say it's an early campaign. Well, cool. I can have all of this information in here as I need it. You know, I can click in here and it'll pull me up maps. I can even do the one that works in here, and, you know, each one of these is clickable and I can see what's there. So this way I have quick, easy reference material in here. And then off to the side, I can have whatever I want over in this panel. And again, this is my DM screen. When you go to 5e.tools and you go to the DM screen, this is specifically the one that I use, but you can, let me save the URL real quick. You can go in and, yeah, hold on. Save the file. I don't want to lose it. There we go. Okay, yeah. So if we reset, this is what it looks like, okay? This is the standard DM screen on 5e.tools. Each one of these you can click and you can add whatever you want. So one of the big things for me, for example, that I always forget is travel pace. So that might be under rules. Travel pace. So travel pace is now up here in the corner. And something I also always forget is like expenses. You know, how much does, you know, a drink cost? What is the price of an inn, a room for the night? You know, how much does it cost to, you know, travel in a carriage from one place to another? That's all stuff that you can add to this. And you can change how big each one of these are. You can change, you know, their width, their height, all that stuff. But particularly for me, this is the setup that I have kind of built up over time. Now, as you can see, this is 6 wide, 4 high. I can actually go in here and shrink this down and, you know, make it bigger or smaller as I need it. But I like to have a really nice big screen for 5e.tools. And again, this is where I can reference anything. If one of my players says, oh, I just picked up, you know, Wall of Fire, cool. I can click that and very quickly see what this is. This to me is far more important than, you know, what this top section is going to give me. You know, yes, this is going to be player centric, but 5e.tools DM screen is dynamic and it's going to give me that option for in the moment research and reference and materials that I need. And like I said, on the right hand side, I am using that corby.github.io link that I posted in the chat earlier. Again, these are some really nice things where if you just need to know how a mechanic works, or if you want to check, you know, what the rules on petrification are, you can very quickly go in and see this. Now, I also have 2 other things down at the bottom. Like I mentioned before, I have this sheet from Verdigris Tables GM screen. Again, I use this because it has a very easy to read travel pace section. It also talks about long jumps and high jumps, as well as concentration. I like having those around. And lastly, I have expenses. Like I said, this is definitely one of those things that I forget. So if a player's like, you know, oh, I want a mug of ale, cool. I can just click this and go into there. So at the end of the day, this right here, if I have nothing else, this is kind of my perfect setup as a DM, as a DM screen, is a way that I can access my players' character sheets on the fly, and then a dynamic, a reference website that I can search up anything that I need at the drop of a hat and is easily accessible. And whether that would be just this program, or if you just go to the website, like, I know it's a lot of resources to have a bunch of Chrome tabs open, but that's one of the things that this is kind of nice for, is it means you don't have as many tabs and everything's kind of condensed to one screen. You know, you don't have to really worry about as much. Now, one of the other things, though, that I like to have at quick hand is a website called the Thieves Guild. Now, the Thieves Guild is a website that has all kinds of generators, all kinds of information, and all kinds of resources for DMs. So on its main page here, you can see that we have a full spell list. So if you want to go in, you can even see that they have the legacy spells. But if you want to go in and read, you know, look up spell books, I mean, not spell books, but look up spells, you can go in here, you can type them up, you can search them by level, search them by school, search them by if they're legacy or not. And I know that D&D Beyond has that, but, you know, this is just a very nice, quick reference sheet that you can look up. It also has listings for all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show you some of the things that I kind of use this for. We'll just kind of pull up everything and go through some of it. So we got magic items. This is going to have the stuff that is in the the Dungeon Master's Guide. So if you want to, you can actually click like the different tables for increasing rarities and stuff. And in fact, you can even do rolls to get random items. So this way, if your players are out there and they're searching somewhere and you want to give them something that's going to be a cool common magic item, okay, cool. Go to table A and just roll this and see what you get. And the nice thing with this is one of the pain in the asses with some rolling tables, like where it says here, spell level 1, or spell scroll level 1, spell scroll level 2. This one will actually give you the spell with it. So you don't have to go and roll on another table. But yeah, nice thing about this is you can just kind of keep going and, you know, keep scrolling along until you find things that you like. So it has magic items tables. It has a table for familiars. It has its basic stats, has its size, its ACs, its hit points. These are just going to be the stuff for find familiar, but it's also going to have polymorph bees. So if your players are trying to polymorph somebody into something, you can jump into here real quick and find the stats for it if you don't want to use something like 5e.tools. Equipment and supplies, if you want some armor information, weapon information, adventuring gear, that's listed in here. Now, more onto the stuff that I use this for. One of the first things right here is the shops. Almost every time that my players go to visit a shop, I will often bring this page up, find the one that I'm looking for, and we'll use this. So let's just say your players go into a town for the first time and maybe they're traveling around, and one of the things that they are looking for is maybe the ranger, excuse me, maybe the ranger recently lost their longbow. Okay, something happened and they you know, they like almost fell off a cliff. They're hanging there. They have their you know, longbow in one hand. They're holding on to the cliff in the other, and they have to drop their longbow in order to climb up. And with that, you know, the longbow falls, maybe it shatters, maybe it's like caught in a river, taken downstream. So the players return to town and they're like, hey, we want to go to a place to find this. Well, cool. There's literally a full-on Bower and Fletcher store, but there's also a general store as well as a blacksmith or an adventure shop. So we could go either way. So we'll pull up an adventure shop and the Bower/Fletcher. So right here, this is going to have everything in the shop. As you can see, right here, it is a hard sell at 750 with a selling cap at 1,500 goods, or I mean 1,500 gold. So that means that if the players want to go in and sell stuff to this shop, this is what they are willing to pay at the most. Okay, that is the highest that they're willing to pay because that's all the money they have with them. Now, a cool thing about this is that this actually gives you a high and low cost on stuff. So if your players have maybe a good relationship with that particular shop owner, maybe they'll actually give them, you know, a slight deal on it. So for that longbow, for example, let's see right here. So instead of 50 gold, it's only 40 gold. Okay, we're going to give you a bit of a discount. But maybe they pissed off this, you know, shop owner. Well, now he's going to charge you 100 gold. Yeah, that's going to be the high cost. On top of that, you can see at the top, they have limited stock, rural locale, urban locale, and premium locale. What that means is, depending on where you go, this is going to determine whether or not a particular shop may or may not have that item. So limited, almost everywhere, like you can see here, a dagger and a hand axe. Almost everywhere you go is going to have some kind of knife, some kind of axe. But it's really only going to be in kind of a rural area, more out in like small foresty villages, where you're going to find maybe like, you know, light hammers and, you know, some of the bigger things. Slings, whips, for example. Longbows can really be found pretty much anywhere. And then you have urban locales. So what's the stuff that's going to be found in towns and cities? And then you have premium locales, which is going to be like, you know, kingdom centers and metropolises. And, you know, these are going to be where you're going to have a bit more opulence, a bit more availability for the higher end things like heavy crossbows or studded leather, for example. So right here, here's a good example: healer's kit and hourglass. I mean, realistically, that might be some more expensive things that are only available in higher level or more opulent areas. Now, the thing is, it also does have some custom items on here, like a ghillie suit, swimming gear as well. There's other stuff through the website that it lists. But here's just the Bower, okay? It's going to have a lot of the same stuff, but this is going to be more specific to archery equipment. So probably one of my favorite features about this site is just legitimately the different kind of shops that it has. Shady and illicit goods. If one of your players is like, you know, hey, I'm a rogue and I have a criminal background, I want to go and talk to somebody. All right, cool. This is somebody you can talk to. And they're going to have some crazy shit like finger blades and a cane sword and a wrist sheath and smoke sticks, like some unofficial items, but some really cool stuff. Poisons, toolkits like forgery kits. What's another one? What's another fun one? Oh yeah, so another great one is the Inn and Tavern. And the cool thing with this is that they actually have a full, they actually have like a really nice one that will give you like a bunch of information, but directly from that page in here, it's going to give you a bunch of different foods, stuff for breakfast, stuff for lunch, stuff for dinner, drinks, all kinds of things that you can kind of play up to your players, as well as lodging. Now, again, this is still going to have high and low values. It's going to tell you what is available in certain areas. But let's just say, for example, you want a little bit more of a robust look at this tavern. Well, you can go here to the Inn and Tavern generator, and that will generate you a lot more information. So right here, this is the Duck and Cover. As you can see, this is in a grassland, forest, or oceanic area. It is comfortable. It has meat and vegetables. And there is a chance of some monsters showing. It gives a really nice description, and I've used this in my campaigns before. You approach the quite stuffy tavern. Through the wooden walls, you can hear shouting. Out the front, there's a blocky stone deck. As you open the perfectly smooth tavern door, you're welcomed by the smell of strong alcohol and a scattering of patrons. It seems just as stuffy inside as it does from the outside. Scattered candles illuminate the room, and standing between the polished stone bar is a muscular 5'10" human female with a square face, a short red mohawk, brown eyes, and soft golden skin. She's wearing a billowy tan shirt and loose tan pantaloons. Between you and the bartender is a small collection of wooden booths. To the right is a hearth with a roaring flame inside, and to the left is a stone staircase. We have a very simple menu, a handful of different meals that the players can partake in. It's all just flavor, folks. You can give your players some temporary hit points if you want, but at the end of the day, this is just flavor and role play, and some beers and wines and liquors. If you remember, there was when the players in the New Age campaign went to the one tavern, this is how I got the menu and the drinks. And then down here, we have a list of NPCs. We have the, oh shit, ad blocker. We have the innkeeper, who was already kind of explained to us. This is a, this is that human female with a square face. So this is Kalia Anders. She's a human innkeeper, and we have some basic stats. We also have a server whose name is Viteller Zayup, who is a drow. The drow from the New Age camp, or the server from the New Age campaign was also a drow. That's weird. And it looks like we have 6 patrons inside. We have a wood elf squire, a stout halfling slaver, a human storyteller, so a bard, a mountain dwarf prostitute, a human fisherwoman, and a human farmer. I like this. Belgar Burnhammer is a around 3'9" mountain dwarf male with a square face, long straight gray hair, with a long braided mustache, brown eyes, and soft sunburned white skin. He's wearing a loose unbuttoned gray shirt with tight gray pants, and his cheeks are painted with red blush. He sounds like a man of the night. So I've always liked this because it's very simple. It's easy just to click tavern generator and you get a different, a different selection. Some of them aren't going to be, super crazy like this one. Okay, we just have a rat catcher. We got a bandit and a farmer, human innkeeper, male dwarf server, but super simple. This is legitimately one of the most important links that I use if my players are going to a town. Now, the second most important thing that I use this website for is this page, which is harvesting information. If you've ever watched the old Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, if you're watching the New Age stuff, or if you've ever just watched Aaron play in any of the games, you know that he likes to harvest things. He likes to see what monsters have on them. And honestly, I get it. You know, in a lot of games, you kill a monster, you take its loot. It's reasonable. This gives you that option for a lot of different monsters. Now, keep in mind, not every monster, but a lot of them. So, for example, let's look at a bullet. There we go. We got a bullet. So, a crazy cross between an armadillo and a snapping turtle. Creature is covered in a thick layered plate. Its head is bullet shaped, similar to that of a shark. If you are unfamiliar of what a bullet looks like, there you go. That's a bullet. These things, they can burrow underground and come out and leap. People call them land sharks. But if you kill one of these things, because of the creature is a monstrosity, the player should roll a nature check using the DCs on the table below. On a success, the player is able to harvest the item. On a failure, the item cannot be recovered, either because they are not skilled or because it's ruined. The DM should note that many of the items have an expiration and cannot be sold or used after. So, if your players are into harvesting and you don't want to have to go out and buy a separate resource book like Heyman's Harvesting Handbook, a free website like this is a saving grace. So it literally explains how to do it. They roll a nature check, and we'll go and we'll roll a nature check, okay? So you ask the player, what are you trying to harvest? Are you trying to take its teeth? Are you trying to take its claws? Or are you trying to take its hide? They say, okay, I want its hide. Cool. So we'll go down here. Let's say we got a +2 to nature. So we're going to roll a d20 +2. Got a 10. So we failed. But that was enough to get the teeth, possibly. So we might be able to make an argument there. But as it gives you a nice brief description, its teeth are hard as steel, often used to craft daggers. So these can be sold for 11 gold, and they can be used to craft a +1 dagger or a +1 spear. The claws can be used to make a dagger or stone cleaver. Keep in mind, HHH does mean Heyman's Harvesting Handbook. And the hide does let you make stone swim armor from Heyman's or studded leather armor, but it does expire after 10 days. Now, down here, this gives you a very quick guide to expiration periods. As it says, it gives you the days and the explanation of why it is expiring. Now, another thing that you can do is you can click loot. Now, this, as it says here, this kind of creature does not normally carry treasure. So let's go back and let's just say the players are fighting orcs. We'll say they're fighting an orc war chief. So we got a bunch of different options now, okay? So not only do we have harvesting, where you could take their tusks, their ornamentation, or their mark of Grumsh, but they have some loot. It's nothing crazy. Couple, pieces of gold or silver on them, possibly some platinum pieces if they're lucky. But let's just say this was an orc chieftain who had a horde. Okay, cool. You can quickly go to horde, click to roll, and okay, cool. They just have a bunch of gold, okay? Super simple, just a ton of gold. But maybe they have a little bit more. Maybe they're a bit more opulent. Well, cool. They got some gold. They have some art pieces, and I, always love the fact that it explains what they are. And he has some magic items as well. So You can roll this up as many times as you want. And the nice thing is this is something that you can do on the fly when your players are wanting to loot an area. You can also check to see what particulars a monster might be carrying with them. So this particular orc war chief has a great axe and a spear, but the chainmail it has was destroyed. This is usually going to be because you have attacked the monster and have damaged their equipment. Trinkets is also a great table. This is one that I roll on fairly often, just because sometimes players are like, hey, does it have anything interesting on it? And you can either roll on here, or if something just stands out to you, cool, make it that. And then lastly, if the players really want to, they can harvest meat from the creatures. I will say, I love the fact that it says that there is a stigma to eating meat belonging to sentient creatures of a humanoid form, that it could be looked at as cannibalism. So if we look at something maybe like a remoraz, the meat of many monsters is considered vile and distasteful. Monstrosities and aberrations may have tainted blood or rancid tasting meat. So let's look at something a little more simple. An owlbear. So you cut into this. Maybe you make a, you can make your players make a survival check, but this creature produces 12 pieces of meat, weighing a total of 48 pounds right there. It does all of it for you. You don't have to worry. And this right here, this gives you all those kind of stipulations. Aberrations are not edible, beasts are, and there's no stigmas to that. But celestials, they are edible, but there's a cannibalism and a holy creature aspect to it that other PC or other NPCs might not be too keen about. So definitely one of those things to take into consideration. And then we have, down here, eating raw meat requires a DC 10 con check. Successful check results in a filling meal. Failure means stomach cramps and a level 1 of level of exhaustion. And then here's some methods of drying and curing meats. So, like I said, I love the Thieves Guild website in general. I think I did forget to put the link up for this. My apologies to that. It's thievesguild.cc. I use it a lot for the harvesting stuff. I use it a lot for the random tavern generators. But some of the other things that it does have really nice for quick information, it has an entire deity section. So if one of your players asks about a god, or if you want to introduce a god, they have a lot of different pantheons in here. There's like real life pantheons, like the Asgardian pantheon, the Pharaonic pantheon, but then you have like Faerun, Greyhawk, the Dwarven pantheon. Here we'll pull up my favorite god, Lathander. There we go. Gives us the symbol, gives us the alignments, the domains, stuff about the worshippers, vestments, the hierarchy, all kinds of stuff that you might want to know. Things that would be available on another wiki, just in a very simple, easy place that is accessible. Lathander. Yeah, that was good water. But now I'm out of water. And for the most part, this is just information pulled from the wikis. Like, there's a lot of wikis out there that you can get this same information from. I just like having it here in a very quick, easy setup. A couple other things that are available here on the Thieves Guild. We have the list of feats. There's the tavern again. NPC generator. So if you need a quick NPC for one reason or another, let's just say that your players are going to meet a male dwarf miner. Here we go. And we'll submit that. And we have Lore Lavabane. He is a male hill dwarf miner. He has a neutral alignment. Pretty basic stat block, low dexterity, high strength and con, middling intelligence and charisma. Simple description right there on the left. He's 271 years old, extremely long straight brown hair, shaved on the right side and brown eyes, rugged sunburned white skin. He's about 4'5" with a beefy build, has a triangular face. He is straight. He is widowed. And he fervently worships Torm, the god of duty, loyalty, obedience, and paladins. He's polite and respectful. He's constantly looking for the loophole. He has almost never been above ground, and he is a crossdresser. I love that. I absolutely love that. Then if you need some basic ability scores or stats for him, and lastly, right down here, it normally gives you a nice little plot hook. He is a fountain of wild magic and cannot control it. So he's a sorcerer of some kind, and possibly he might need the reason why the players might be approaching Lord Lavabane is that he wants them to resolve his wild magic. So really cool way to just generate a simple NPC. And the nice thing is they have a ton of different descriptors in here for occupations. You don't have to just do it by, I guess you guys can't see that. Sorry. Here. As you can see, there is a ton of different options for the class/profession. They have most of the basic races that are available. But if for example, you just need a simple innkeeper, doesn't matter who they are. Great. Here we go. Shirai Mayar, male drow. Great. What's his plot hook? He challenges the PCs to a duel to the death. So he rarely thinks ahead and he's very optimistic. That's funny. All right, what else do we got? Different tables, yeah. So another great reason why I love this is because it has just a bunch of tables. If you need book names for something, you can go in here and, hey, how green is my goblin? If your players are looking through a bookshelf and they roll up and they want to see what's in there, cool. We got the Letters of St. Cuthbert. What light shines forever? A history of sun deities. Lathander. If you need treasure, if you need hoards, gemstones, art, the different magic item tables. If you need names for creatures, honestly, I will admit, oh my God. No, not Fantasy Town Generator. Oh my God. If you need, legitimately, if you need a fantasy name for stuff, go to fantasynamegenerators.com. This is the best website. It has all kinds of different categories. There's one for D&D somewhere. There it is. For all kinds of stuff. If you need halfling names, get a bunch. This is always going to be the best one. Just want to put that out there. Yeah, I probably would not use this in most cases. Actually, this is not a bad list. For all I know, it could even be pulling from the same resource. But yeah, again, all kinds of different generators. And truth be told, that's one of the big things about being a DM is if not having to worry about coming up with your own names for stuff. that is one of those things that people have for physical DM screens a lot of times, is just like names for things. When I first started running D&D, I had a piece of paper that I kept behind my screen that had like 100 different random names on it. And it was like, it wasn't even necessarily like full names. It would just be like different names. So you would just pick two of them and it, you know, that would be it. And they were kind of fantasy looking names. I also had one that was just a slew of different tavern names. So I would just roll a die and see what I get. And you can kind of just do that now through here. So if you ever need stuff like that, Thieves Tools has you covered. They even have stuff for city laws. You know, what is the, what are the laws for your areas for vandalism, disturbing the peace, if you really want to hold your players to a more realistic setting. It has riddles and puzzles as well. I mean, tons and tons of pages of riddles if you are needing something like that. And then we have different strongholds. So if your players are looking to build a stronghold, you can kind of do that on here. And it has different stuff that is available that explains what you can do with it and the bonuses that it may give you. And last but not least, we have because this is the Thieves Guild, obviously, we have a Thieves Can't to English or English to Can't translator. Cry beef to raise an alarm. So yeah, like I said, this website has a ton of stuff. Check it out. It is one of the most important websites that I use. And this is going in as my second, not Giddle, as my second link, the Thieves Guild, because being able to quickly grab this, go to a tavern generator and jump back into stuff, that's what having a digital DM screen is all about. Quick, easy references and generations. Now, I'm going to show off two other things, and then I'm probably going to call it a night just because it's getting a bit late. Been going out for about 2 hours now, and I'm pretty exhausted just from the day in general. But this is another big resource that I use quite often because I run a lot of my games in the Forgotten Realms. So there is the link to that. This is the Forgotten Maps.web.app. This is a fully interactable and highly detailed map of the Sword Coast and of kind of the northwest of Faerun. Obviously, this doesn't have everything. It doesn't go down to like the lands of Kalasham and Chult. It doesn't go so far over, but for the most part, in 5th edition, this is kind of mostly what you're going to be using as a DM. Right up here, for example, is one of the most well-explored areas in a way. This is the Phandalin, Neverwinter, Waterdeep area. I mean, this is the Sword Coast, so this is the most famous area. But the nice thing about this particular website is there's, for one, it's just the simple fact that when you click a location, it will actually bring you up the wiki page for it, so you can look up information if you need to. But some of these locations have their own maps that you can then look into. And let's say, for example, your players are heading to Neverwinter and they are looking for a blacksmith. Cool. Right here, we have all the shops that are these little gold icons, and we have trade of blades. This is a mercenary company, so that we don't want that. Here we go. We have an armory. So the Shining Knights Arms and Armor is an armory shop located in Neverwinter. It is one of the best armories because its owner was a wizard who knew spells to help him shape metal, and he also worked with dwarves. So cool. We have the name of a shop, and if you were really running this, you could just simply go into here, go to shops, and go to blacksmith, and voila, we have whatever it is they might want to buy. So I highly recommend this site if you want a map, a decent map of Faerun. Another cool thing about this is that you can access all the maps on the side just as they are. You can have different legends. You can have different legends. You can filter them on and off. You can even set your own tokens if you wanted to. So if you wanted to highlight a place or add your own notes, you could do that. It has the calendar in here. So if you want to keep track of that stuff, you can do that if you want to see some information. But the one thing that I really use this for specifically is to figure out distances. Okay. As great of a map as this is, with everything that it offers, this particular website is invaluable to me for travel distances. And all you do is you go over to the side where this little gear icon is, and at the top there is an icon that is a line with 2 dots. So you click that, and then you click somewhere on the map. So let's just say, for example, your players were in Phandalin, and they found out that they were in Phandalin, and something, for some reason, is making them travel up to Mount Hotenow. Okay, and they're like, maybe they need to go and talk to the dwarves at Gauntlgrim, for example. Okay, so we're gonna start in Phandalin. We're gonna go up this little path here, and we're just gonna click to make some lines. We're gonna come over here to the intersection where the town of Crossergate is. And we're just gonna trace along the road here, because they're gonna stay on the main road for the most part until they get to about Neverwinter. And at Neverwinter, now they're going to traverse up through the plains and up through the forest. So they're just going to go straight up to Gauntlgrim. And right there, we now have this path. And you can see that it is highlighted, or you can see that it is right there in blue. And if we click it, it tells us that this is 218 miles, and it tells us that it is 9 days and 36 minutes. The travel speed given assumes a normal travel pace and relatively simple terrain, such as roads, open plains, or clear dungeon corridors. Dense forests, deep swamps, rubble-filled ruins, steep mountains, and ice-covered ground are all considered difficult terrain, which takes double the time. So, a way that we can actually address that is if we go into here, we can actually hit delete, or we can hit, wrong, where am I at? Clear all. Yeah, it's a little trash can right there. So if we take into consideration that them going through the forest is going to be difficult terrain, we can actually remap this real quick till they get to Neverwinter, and we'll close that out there. And then we'll go from Neverwinter up to Gauntlgrim. So that means that it's going to take them about 5.5 days to reach Neverwinter. And let's just say that all of this up to Gauntlgrim is difficult terrain. So that's 3 days. That's going to take 6 days. So instead of 9 days, we're up to 11. I love this. This has saved me so many times when my players have wanted to travel somewhere. And I don't want to have to sit there with a physical map, with a ruler or anything like that. I can very quickly just pull this up, click a few points, and know that I'm going to get a rough estimate of about the time. And it's just that simple. I will also say that it was because of this particular map that I also found out that there is a town called Crossergate right at the intersection of the Tribor Trail and the High Road, which in my library campaign, my GS campaign, that has become like a major town to that party. It's just a small, like it says here, it's a small town and caravan stop. So it's very big on trade. But yeah, that's, here it is. Crossergate's Curious Items Emporium, a general store and curio shop, and the Western Weapon Shop, a famed arms and armor dealer. So yeah, I had a lot of fun playing with this map whenever I first found out about it. I even signed up for the Patreon to support the guy. So definitely a good option. I also used this in the Phandalin 5 campaign a while back when I needed to figure out how many miles it was for my players to get out to the Temple of Restoration. So this was essentially the thing that I used, where I could create a couple, different paths through the ocean and then say, okay, it's 500 some miles. It's going to be this many days aboard the boat. So this is going to be the third link that I'm going to have on my D&D Beyond GM screen. So now I have this map easily accessible. And realistically, that's kind of about it. That would be this is kind of where I settled on recently when I found out that this updated. I mean, granted, today we added some resistances and immunities in the conditions, which are nice additions. But the fact that we can now add these links that open up internally means that I don't have to have a slew of tabs across the top of my screen, which is really nice, because that was always one of the things that I hated about, I have a decent amount of RAM. I don't really have to worry too much about it, but having so many tabs, it does become a bit of a clusterfuck. So a really nice, simple, integrated system like this is something I'm just really happy to have at my fingertips. And hopefully it doesn't reset on me again, because kind of is a pain in the ass to have to go through and redo everything. But one of the last things that I want to show, I know I didn't cover everything tonight. I threw up in my Discord that tonight I was going to be talking also about my virtual tabletop of choice, which is Encounter Plus. We've talked about that in the past, so I'm not too upset about the fact that we're not going to touch more heavily on that, but I probably will do another stream where I go a little bit more into detail about some of the newer things that I've recently started doing with it and something that I've had a benefit for with it. I also need to do a stream where I'm just adding stuff to D&D Beyond from that Essential NPCs book that I recently raved about, because I got to use some of those NPCs in a session and they are fantastic. They're everything I've ever wanted. So I'm adding a bunch of them to D&D Beyond so that I can throw them onto my virtual tabletop. We'll talk about that another day. The last thing that I want to talk about is this extension. So this is the NPC generator. And this was made by a YouTuber known as Power Word Spill. I highly recommend you check out his channel if you ever get a chance. He has a wonderful speaking voice, for what it's worth. He has a lot of really cool stuff about tips and tricks to be a DM. Honestly, his...
But the downside of that was I was afraid...
No, not this video. He has a video on the Obsidian system. I believe it was his. Maybe not. I thought he did. I swear to God, he put it. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, so it's because of his video that I've been trying to swap over to using a program called Obsidian, which is kind of like OneNote, but it's a little bit more geared towards D&D players. It just kind of lets you link stuff better. There's another YouTuber that I've been following more recently, if I can find him on my other screen here quickly. Let me check my history. I think I was watching one of his videos. Here he is. Mystic Arts DM. He's another more recent channel that I have started following. He also has a video on Obsidian and kind of explains how he uses it. And I will say I watched Power Words months ago and I thought it was really cool, and I tried getting into Obsidian. I just didn't really jive with it too well. But I recently watched Mystic Arts, and I might honestly switch to it. I don't want to necessarily say that I'm moving away from OneNote just now. OneNote is great because I can share out a link to it. I think Obsidian does have a similar feature, but Obsidian has a really nice feature, which is kind of what he has in the background. But what you can do is it is much better at linking stuff. So when you start like referring to the same thing multiple times, like when writing notes or writing like campaign, summaries, okay, you can link those things together and it creates its own article for that thing. I'm not saying that OneNote doesn't have the same thing, but it's just a little bit more clunky because you have to like do specific hyperlinks, and this Obsidian kind of does it automatically. But anyway, I'm off topic right now. So Power Word Spill has put out this Chrome extension, and all it is it's just a very fast NPC generator. So if, for example, I'm here, I'm running my D&D session, the players, they go to a town and they're like, they want to talk to somebody. They're like, I just want to go up to somebody, because we're asking for this, this monster. Has they seen this monster? So when you add this extension, you have to pin it up in the corner, kind of like we did with the DM screen. And when you click it, it brings up this box. And I don't know if there's a way to make this any bigger. Yeah, no, I don't think there is. But if we click, oh wait, here. There's no way to make it bigger. What a stooge. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Would you look at that? It's like magic. Okay, so up here, we have generated an NPC by the name of Blalin Henstow. He is a young male dwarf, with a buzz cut. He is short with a heavy build, and they have a slight tremor in their hands. His voice is high-pitched, booming and fast, and says like a lot. This is a young male dwarf who speaks like a shouting valley girl. Well, hey! Oh, God. They are serious, and they are being hunted by assassins. So we are going to change this voice. Now, one of the cool things is that if you don't like something about this, you can just click that thing and it will change it. So with this one, we now have a low-pitched whispering. Says Amalot. I must tell you, I'm being hunted by assassins, and I need your help. So right there, we just got a fairly robust NPC with one click of a button and a slight change to something. Now, a cool thing about this is that you can copy this to a clipboard, and we can bring up, you know, our notepad here. We'll make a new note, and bam, there we go. We got that whole description in there, and now we have that for reference. You could, if you're using OneNote, you're using Obsidian, wherever you're keeping your notes, you can just copy and paste that right into it. And the nice thing is that it stays there until we hit generate NPC again, or until the whole thing refreshes. So we'll make another one real quick. Eris Cootmore, a middle-aged male human with long wavy hair, short with an average build and missing an ear. He has a high-pitched, forceful voice that's kind of gravelly. Hello? Yes? They're very patient. They can't... My crops won't grow. I don't know why. This season has been the worst. Please, you must help me. So there we go. Wait, what is this? Played 131 hours of Oh, I was about to say, is that just a link to one of his videos? That's really funny if that is the case. Oh, you know what? That might just be that might be the video. No, that's definitely not the video he put this out in. But yeah, if something like this, you know, if you ever want just a very fast, simple way to generate NPCs, definitely check this extension out. Again, this is all Chrome. You know, that's one of those things. If you're not using Chrome, this may be inaccessible to you. I know a lot of times Chrome apps are just available on Firefox or wherever, but this is a Chrome extension. I use Chrome. I'm not, you know, I know some people have issues with it. I don't care. But yeah, these are both Chrome extensions, and I use them fairly often. Like I said, I kind of wanted to go over tonight some of the different tools that I use when I'm running my games, and kind of the update on that. You know, I previously, when I was, you know, when I would run a game, for example, we'll pull up what it normally would have looked like. So if I were to be running, say, the New Age campaign, I would pull all this up. Everything but this first tab, okay? So I would have everyone's character sheets on their own thing. I would have my DM screen here, and usually I also have this up. I've referenced this in the past numerous times. This is app.fantasy-calendar. I use this for all of my campaigns to keep track of the session, you know, dates and times. Again, I've talked about that in the past. This is a really great way to keep track of time and, you know, days and hours and minutes, if your players are into that kind of stuff, or if you want to track something that closely. I will say I like the fact that this has weather in it. So that's always been something that I liked, and that you can create events to keep track of stuff. Wasn't planning on talking about this, but yeah, this is also one thing that I keep up all the time. And then I have here my D&D bookmarks folder with the Thieves Guild down here. Normally I would pull this up and have this kind of hanging out as well when I'm running my games. And, you know, I jump back and forth between what I need. And usually, like I said before, this is going to be about that big. Then I'm going to have my notepad down here. On my other monitor, I would have OneNote and my virtual tabletop. And on my right-hand monitor, I have this program when it finally decides to load, which is the this is the game log. This is the thing that sends dice rolls from D&D Beyond to my virtual tabletop. This does have a dynamic reload for players' health. So I actually I keep an eye on this fairly closely. This sits in the upper, on my upper right-hand screen. And that's also where I log my game log as well. It's usually about this big when I'm looking at it. And it's where I can keep track of, like, you know, what players are rolling. That's always a little window that I have. And then usually right here is where I would have the cameras for the players so that I can talk directly to them. But I love the fact that now I don't have to have all these tabs open. I can just have this page and very easily go through these all and just find what I need. You know? Like I said, I really love this. I love this top panel. I think this is great. I know I already shared it before, but if you are a D&D Beyond DM and you use Chrome, check out the D&D Beyond DM screen extension. It's super easy to set up. It's so fucking customizable for whatever you need. The only thing that I wish they would add in the future is dynamic reloads on it. It's not that hard, in my opinion, to add a little script that reloads, say, every, you know, that reloads like a certain thing every so many seconds. Like if this is hit points, this should have like a little script that could go with it where it's like every 30 seconds or like every minute it updates or something like that. But again, it is just as easy to click the reload button. Once it you know is done spinning, it's updated. So it is easy enough to do that. And usually what I've been doing is when my players are in combat, I have come to start to, like, after everyone's turn, just click the reload button on their thing so that this way it keeps them updated. Oh yeah, another nice thing about this is that you can actually sort stuff by, like, different things. I keep things alphabetical, but you can actually sort things by their whatchamacallits, you know, by like highest to lowest and stuff. Also, if you're wondering why these are green and some of these are red, this just shows the high and lows in each one. I don't know why these aren't showing anything. Couldn't tell you that. So, but I think that's going to be it for me tonight, folks. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to jump in, talk about some of the things that I use as a DM, as a, you know, with a digital DM setup. I know it's not everyone's forte, but there's a lot of people out there that are getting into D&D nowadays, and online D&D is a more accessible option for people. So just wanted to talk about some of the stuff that I use, so might be able to help you in the future. Yeah, so I'll kind of leave it at that. Coming back and hang out with me today, tomorrow, Thursday night, 10:30 for the next episode of the First 15, because that is tomorrow. We're playing Station to Station, Lunar Lux, and Voltaire, the vegan vampire. And I might also be showing off a 4th game tomorrow night as well. I've been playing some games in my own spare time. And I was just talking to Glenn about this tonight, how I used to be so particular about like not playing games until I played them on the First 15. And recently I've been playing a handful of different games just because, and figured I'd, show off, 1 or 2 of those just for a couple minutes tomorrow. Not a First 15 thing because I've already played them. But just as like, hey, this is kind of what I'm playing in the background and, playing outside of streaming. So we'll see what we got time for tomorrow night. But yeah, so thank you everybody for joining me. Enjoy your evening. If I don't see you for the First 15, have a wonderful weekend, and maybe come by on Sunday for the next episode of the New Age. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Come on back on Sunday for the next episode of the New Age campaign, as the players now have to deal with the fact that Castle Rivenroar has risen into the sky. It's now Castle Risenroar. All right, folks, have a good night. I'm going to go eat some chicken. Good night.